You've got to drink perfectly normal. Wait, I gotta do that again. Hold on. There.
Oh.
We've got to drink perfectly normal.
Boys.
This is why we have. This is why our soup bowl has a big napkin next to it. Well. Welcome back to Progressive Soup. My name is David Stevenson. Last night we also had Daphne Clarke Hudson on, and Daphne, who is a life coach who gives some marvelous advice to folks on running their life. Most often, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but most often it's to women who you empower. And may I ask you to relate some specific instances, without naming names, of course, specific instances of counseling sessions you've had, what people have been looking for, and how you approach. Because, of course, what I'm thinking is people watching the show, if they hear something which is sort of kind of like what they could use some help with, you're the person to go to.
Thank you.
So tell us, give us a good one to start off with.
All right, so just to correct something, I do have a few brave male clients.
Yeah, okay, good. Excellent.
Those who are willing to let me rock their boats.
Okay.
Yeah, well, thanks, David. Thanks for having me back. And let me make this broad statement that every time a client comes to me, it is never what they tell me. Because once you start peeling the onion back,
there's always something that they haven't thought of that they really need some advice on.
Yes, and that's not only with the clients that I serve. It is with all of us, David, because as a person, we will never think of digging deep. It's like pulling the rubber band and letting it go. We are not going to do this. We're going to go because what? It stings too hard.
I like the onion example better because, like you say, you peel back an onion and the more layers you go down.
Yes.
More than just the more layers you go down, you find very different. You don't find a different onion down there underneath the layers, but you find a very different onion.
But you can pick up an onion, it is as solid as this bowl.
Yeah.
But when you decide to cut the top off and start to peel back, way down there's that whole double section that's soft. And you're thinking, this onion was so solid. And for example, people will come to me with issues with the person in the next cubicle to them at work.
Yeah.
But as I begin to dug and begin to peel back, what's really happening, there's issue with your relationship. Your boyfriend, your wife, your husband.
And work relationships, sure, because you might be spending more hours in a week at work than you're spending with your spouse or your significant other.
Exactly. And I mentioned in the first episode about my intuitiveness. And I can always feel what somebody is telling me.
Yeah.
I can see what they're telling me, and it's not lining up with what I'm hearing. So as I listen and I'm writing the things that I'm feeling and I'm seeing that doesn't line up with what I'm hearing, and when they pause and I ask them, so what about X, Y, Z? And they go like, well, how did you know that?
You're the person on the outside. You're the impartial person. Because let's face it, if we all could be our own counselors, there would be no need for counseling. People would just write things down and figure them out for themselves. But that's not quite
not the way
very easy to do.
That's right.
That's why they need you. Go ahead. Continue.
And I remember a lady, very astute individual. And she retired 3 careers. She was a high school teacher. Then she went into, she was a middle school teacher. Then she went to high school. And then she retired and became the school guidance counselor. And I met her at an event.
What did she teach before she became the guidance counselor? Just general subjects matter, or
General
Okay.
stuff.
Nothing-
but
nothing-
she was
nothing
still
specific. Okay.
Right. She was still young enough, and the position came up as the guidance counselor, and she took it. And she met me at an event where I was speaking, and she said, "I want you to be my coach." And I said to her, "I need to set up an intake session with you, because I don't just look at people and say, I'm going to coach you, Dave, because I don't know if I'm the right coach for you.
Yeah.
I don't know if what you need I can deliver. So I'm making sure I can at least deliver by having that initial conversation."
Yeah.
So I said, "Let's set up a time to talk." And she said, "No, I need you to be my coach. I already know. I heard enough today from you that I know you can be my coach."
And there's a little bit of intuitiveness there.
On her
On her part.
On her part too.
Yeah.
And she said to me that, "I don't even know why I want you to be my coach, because I don't want to be an entrepreneur and stuff like that." So then I start working with her, and I'm seeing intuitively all this stuff that she's doing. And then one week, she was out of state, so I was actually speaking with her on the phone. And one week, I brought up a certain item in the conversation, and I said, "What was that?" And I listened to her pause. And then she told me, I don't want to say what the item was, because right.
You struck a chord, or she struck a chord in discussing
But-
with you what was on her mind.
No,
Something she-
I saw things that she was creating. And what she was creating were things that was going to be advantageous to other people's lives.
Oh.
Yet she was saying she was not an entrepreneur. But here I was seeing all of these things that she was working on. So she did not mention any of that to me. So then I drew it to her attention, because I saw it in the spirit. I intuitively saw all these things. And then she told me, I mentioned one item, and she told me what it was something she was creating for a special person in her life. And then we began working, and I'm seeing more things, So I said, "Why are you collecting all of these things?"
Did she know?
She knows she's doing them.
But did she know why she was?
At the time, she didn't see it as a business. She just saw it as something she liked to do, and she was doing that. But she wasn't doing it in normal ways.
She wasn't doing it as a process of earning income.
Exactly. But then as we worked together, that business developed out of that.
You pointed out some value in what she was doing. It was certainly valuable enough to make people want to
Exactly.
give her
Exactly.
something in exchange for what she was giving them.
Right. There was one other client I had who had bad relationship with money, and he did not know when and where that resistance to money happened. And then when we began working together, it was from he was 4 years old. One little thing his father said to him, and I think people still say that. You know, sometimes parents, they don't have the money to give a child for something, and they'll say, money don't grow on tree.
We've all heard that, yeah.
And that is such a damaging thing. As we began
Why?
to peel his onion back, that statement at age 4 to him changed his entire life.
Well, I know little kids interpret things very differently than adults do, because I remember, that's just an example, when I was living in Miami, a little girl across the street got hit by a car in the street, and what I was told was her mother, the girl's mother, went into shock. And now and again, probably about 4 or 5 years old. And how is a 4 or 5-year-old going to interpret about someone going into shock? All I could think of is, well, she must have climbed up the telephone pole and grabbed a wire or something, because they didn't understand what going into shock actually meant.
Right, but your subconscious reacts to that experience. So at 4 years old, his subconscious picks it up that money does not grow on trees.
Yeah.
So every time money comes in my position, I got to hold that money tight. I got to squeeze the breath out of that money. I got to strangulate the money. And although this individual was earning well, he was not enjoying what he was working for. He was not treating his family as if he could afford to treat them better. So there's a lot of things.
And that causes stress within the family, certainly.
Causes stress
because they
and
weren't
everything.
there. They weren't there when he was 4 years old
And he didn't
heard
know
that
that.
expression and was affected by it.
That's right.
And he can't explain to them
That's right.
why he behaved the way in which he did.
Exactly. And when he came to me, his suggestion was, I'm in this job from when? I'm not getting a raise. I'm not well, he got small raise. I'm not getting any promotion. You know, the boss liked this person more than me and da.
Yeah.
But then as we start to peel the onion back together, we found and we identify how that impacted his life. And that just bring a whole different point of view in what we were working on and where to channel and focus our energy and to turn. So not only was his job turnaround, his relationship with his family turnaround. And when you when your loved ones have passed on and you are holding these things and these grudges and anger and stuff against them, you can still release them in writing. So he had to write a tearful letter to his father to release his father.
After his father had passed away.
Because the father had, by then when he started working with me, his father had passed on. So I got him to write the letter. And I said, let him know you love him. Because he did what he knew best to do then. But your subconscious holds it up. And it manifests later on in our lives.
I was going to ask you if you ever had situations where when people have, I guess you could call it an epiphany, when they realize, oh, this is what's been going on in my life. This is what has stunted my emotional growth. This is what it's caused me to be less than I could have been. Do people ever, for lack of a better word, break down and cry?
Yes. Yes.
So it is like an epiphany,
Yes, and I you know, one individual shout out, he said, I be damned son of a bitch.
You can say that on television, especially on this show.
And
no problem with that.
for all these years. And the tears run. And let me tell you something, man. When it happens to a woman, it's okay, I'm accustomed to it. But when it's a brother, I just sit up in my chair and I feel good. I said, good work, girl.
Because women are more able to
we are more touchy-feely, and we will pop the lid off.
So when a man lets loose, they really let loose.
Exactly, because you guys were told, guys don't cry, you guys don't this, you guys don't that. Forget about it.
And we believe that.
You believe it, and guess what you do? You suppress yourself, and a lot of stress and blood pressure and diseases you guys harbor because of that garbage. You know. But I love what I do. I enjoy it. There are many people. And with technology now, I have the opportunity of working with people wherever they are, so I am super excited.
Oh, so you're able to actually talk to people,
Skype.
not face to face. You talk to them through Skype.
Skype and Zoom
Yeah, because with
and FaceTime,
yeah, so you're going to see all kinds. You're going to see
different time
their
zones.
physical reactions. You're going to see all the facial reactions.
And I can look.
So you
and,
get all the
and
everything you would encounter face to face.
almost. And sometimes some of the people on Skype, they don't want to put their camera on because there's a trust issue too.
Yeah.
But then I have to really tune in and to really listen good. And if it's a change in the breathing or something,
Yeah.
I have to say, well, breathe. Why did you stop breathing? Oh, how did you know? We stopped breathing. I hear. You know? Some people will, when the conversation gets uncomfortable, they will get up and they start tippy-toe walking, and they don't know that I know that they're walking. And these are the things that make this work so rewarding. And I tell people, there are many people that say they are coaches because the word coach is such an overused term now. And I said, a business card and a brochure does not make you a coach. You got to know how to connect with your people. And this is why I'm not the coach for everybody, and vice versa. You know?
How do you manage at the end of a day, at the end of a session, how do you manage to not carry someone else's burden as your burden too?
I jump on the line with my coach.
so the coach has a coach.
You have to. Why you think Tiger Woods is so good at what he does? He have the best coaches. So I have to always, my coaches are few levels above me, because sometimes you get off, and let me tell you, it's like cement blocks on your head and your shoulder. And you got to be able to tap into that and reach out to somebody else.
You have to have somebody relieve you of the burden.
Exactly.
The same way that you've relieved someone else's burden.
Somebody else is relieving me. So I meditate. I do a lot of reading. But when I have a heavy case, I call my coach.
That's wonderful.
I call my coach.
That is so good. And part of your counting on people you help, part of you counting on them to listen to you and to trust in you, is for you to be a trusting person.
Exactly.
And trust in someone else. And whether they're necessarily or not necessarily any more skilled than you, they're another person.
Yes.
They have a different perspective. They've had different life experiences, and so they can listen to you the same way you listen to someone else.
Yes, and a lot of people, especially if they have never worked with coaches before, they don't understand that everything is highly confidential. And especially when it's somebody local and everybody around here, Danbury, Bethel, Brookfield, everybody seeing everybody.
You have mutual friends.
Exactly.
And so the other friends can't even know. Even know that you're even discussing anything with them on a professional level.
And I tell my clients, when we meet up, because a lot of time my clients and I are at the same events, I said, you don't need to introduce me to anybody as your coach. That's a professional relationship between us.
Yeah. And
so you don't say, how do you know Daphne? I'll be the first to answer. Let me answer.
Yeah.
Because I don't want your mouth to slip and say, I'm your coach.
Yeah.
Because they have to know it's private and confidential. And now people are getting to understand it now, because before they start turning red or get nervous if they see me talking to Melissa, because they think I'm talking about their business to Melissa. But now they understand and realize that.
And that's Melissa, who's our camera person extraordinaire.
Melissa, yeah.
So what you're doing is you're making sure that they don't betray someone else's private conversation with you, but you're not allowing them to betray their own personal
Exactly.
relationship with you. So it's just
Exactly.
like, well, you know them, but that's the extent of it. Well, I know that person, but
Right.
you know, and that's it.
And sometimes I don't even have to ask the people for testimonial. And I said, if you comfortable doing it, you just do it. But I'm not compelling for you to do it, especially when it's very sensitive issue. But they know how to frame it, and they know how to put it, because they are no relief. It's like they got healing, and they want to tell everybody else. You know, because although coaching is such an overused term, not too many people have access it, because they are doubtful. And they figure, oh no, it's not going to work. Especially the big macho guys. It's not going to work. For me, man, oh, that thing ain't going to work. But when they see it start working, man, I can't believe
When they
this
open
thing
up
is
themselves to you and let you.
Exactly.
And like you mentioned, maybe in the first show, maybe in this show, you talked about how you meet with someone with no expectations.
That's right.
Just to sit down and see if you match, if you match up with them and they match up with you, because that's the only way. If they're able to carry through their part of the responsibility, and you're able to carry through your part of the responsibility, then it works.
Because
Either one's missing, it doesn't work.
You know, actually, you and I, we are co-creating, because you have situations that's deep inside of you, and you're coming to me to trust me. So you and I need to co-create that result. So if you come and you have all these barriers up, and you don't want to open up, there's nothing that's going to happen. And that's why people come and say, well, I go to that counselor and I go to that coach and they take my money. Well, hey, you got to do something. If you don't do the work, you cannot get the result. And I think this is where people really don't understand.
The responsibility is not strictly on you, it's on them.
That's right. A facilitator, a coach or a counselor.
You don't do anything for them that they couldn't do for themselves if they had your skills, which they don't.
Exactly. And they have to be willing. It's a willingness to open. It's the willingness to open. How vulnerable are you willing to be? Because every success has to be accompanied by vulnerability. If you are not going to be vulnerable, nothing is going to happen. How much of your mess are you willing to put out there? Because we got to own our truths. Everybody's truth comes in a different format. It have different color. But you see, when we begin to own our truths, we can move mountains. That's why you see those multi-millionaires, people not paying them for their qualifications, they're paying them for their story. You notice all those people who said they have gone through this, they have gone through that, and look at me now, and blah, blah, blah. That's what people pay for. So they want to hear what's all the mess you've been through and how you clean up that mess, you know? So become vulnerable, own your truth, be authentic, and you're on your way.
We have time for one more example, one more interaction that you've had with someone that's been beneficial to them and maybe beneficial to you too. Go ahead, continue. I know it's a lot of responsibility.
Yeah, I just have to know a frame because you don't want people to see the show, especially if you're going through somebody local and they say, you was on that man show talking about me.
Use an example that you've had of a patient or somebody that you work with that, say, through Skype, that lives somewhere else in the world.
There was an individual that was being molested by a family member.
That happens a lot.
And the mother of the individual would never believe that her brother was going to do that to
Nobody
the person.
wants to believe that about a family member.
Nobody. And that was an eye-opener for me because I knew it always happened when mothers have boyfriends that do it, but for her uncle, and it was her oldest brother the mother's oldest brother.
Yeah.
And to get her to accept responsibility to protect her daughter, it really wasn't easy. It really wasn't easy, but I promised that young woman in confidence that I was going to go bad for you. I said, you have my word. I said, I got your back. And, you know, every time, it's hard for me to talk about. It's really hard, but I gave her my word, and I went back, and the mother, she apologized to her.
And she corrected the situation?
And you know, when people are hurting, you go back and you listen to the uncle.
Yeah.
And he was hurting too.
Yeah.
So everybody was a victim, you know?
Yeah. It's normally it's people that are victimized.
Yes.
They become victimizers. They're taught through their experience of being victimized that it's okay to do that, because it was okay for someone to do it to me.
So it's okay.
It's okay for me to do it to somebody else, and it generally strikes close to home, because there are people that you have a lot of intimate contact with. You know, that you're trusted, the adults trusted to take care of the young one. And we're gonna continue our discussion. We're coming down the end of the show. Progressive Soup. I'm David Stevenson, Daphne Clarke Hudson, and we're both here kind of composing ourselves. And if we don't see anything else the rest of the show, forgive us. But we're gonna let the show fade out and just.
Thanks for having me, Dave. Thanks.
It's been wonderful having you, and for people that are out there to consider a life coach, to consider someone that they can confide in. It's a wonderful thing, and as you just mentioned, it benefits not just the person that's confiding in you, but it benefits, in her case, her daughter, and in her case, the older brother.
Yes.
So everyone benefited. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Dave.